Hello, my name is Sarah Smith. I'm an athletic trainer for Bon Secours Mercy Health. Our topic for our discussion today is the importance of sleep in teenagers. We will be discussing what exactly sleep is, the sleep cycle and stages, how much sleep do you really need, sleep patterns, sleep deprivation, reasons you can't sleep, how lack of sleep can affect your performance, and then we'll talk about some common sleep disorders and tips that will help you with your sleep. But first, some fun facts. Did you know 85% of teens get less than the recommended 8.5 to 9.25 hours of sleep each night? Do you get 8 or 9 hours of sleep each night? Less sleep does not necessarily equal more time to do things and get things done. Sometimes we feel like if we don't sleep as much, we'll have more time to cram it all in, but it doesn't always work like that. Shortened sleep impairs learning, performance, health, and safety. 55% of fall asleep crashes involve drivers 25 years of age or younger. That is your age group, and that is scary for drivers like me. Almost a quarter of young adults report driving faster when drowsy. So, what exactly is sleep? Well, it's a condition of the body and mind that typically occurs for several hours every night, in which the nervous system is relatively inactive, the eyes closed, the postural muscles relaxed, and consciousness practically suspended. I was on the verge of sleep is an example of it. It is a basic human drive regulated by two biological systems. The first one is the sleep wake homeostasis, the drive to sleep that increases the longer we are awake. So, the longer we stay up, the more we want to go to sleep. The second one is a circadian rhythm or clock. It is your body's internal clock. It's in our brain and it regulates when we feel sleepy and when we are alert. If you've ever traveled away from home into a different time zone, you may have felt the effects of your circadian rhythm being off or your internal clock being off. We call that jet lag. Takes your body a while to get used to when night is and day is when you're in a different time zone. So, why is sleep important? Well, there are a lot of reasons. The first one, time for the brain to process. Okay. Produces alertness, enhances memory, and our ability to learn. It's a biological requirement. It helps us perform effectively and safely. It is essential for development, particularly during growth and maturation. And it is a key to our health. It is just as important as good nutrition and regular exercise. We know that getting sleep helps prevent illness, and we know that getting good sleep is associated with good health. So, what happens when we sleep? We're going to watch this little video snip.
Hello and welcome to Healthy Nation. I'm Pat Murphy. A good night's sleep leaves you rested and feeling refreshed in the morning. But it isn't just about how much sleep you get. It's about how much of the right kind of sleep you get, even if it's only 4 or 5 hours. Sleep problems can happen for a lot of reasons, and there are ways to get the rest that you need. The first step is figuring out the source of your problems. Here's Dr. Holly Phillips on what happens when we sleep.
We all have our own biological rhythm or internal clock. It's called the circadian clock, and it regulates the way our bodies work throughout the day. It governs brain activity and hormone production, and it's also responsible for making us alert during the day and sleepy at night. The circadian clock is located in the hypothalamus section of the brain. It's only about the size of a pinhead, but the tiny bundle of neurons controls almost 1/3 of your life, your sleep. The circadian clock controls the release of melatonin. This is a hormone that makes us drowsy. Melatonin levels are highest at night and lowest during the daylight hours. That's why some sleep experts call it the hormone of darkness. The amount of sleep you get influences several bodily functions, including blood pressure, kidney function, and cell repair. Sleep also plays a large part in keeping our immune system strong. It helps us to fight off germs and infections, helps us make good judgments, and adapt quickly and easily to sudden changes all around us. Basically, sleep is necessary for survival. Have you ever woken up completely refreshed after a night's sleep and you wondered why you feel more rested than you have on other days? Let's see what a healthy night's sleep looks like. The sleeping process is made up of 5 phases of sleep that cycle throughout the night. The first phase is light sleep, when we can be woken up easily. Sometimes people feel the sensation of falling during this phase. During the next phases, the brain waves slow down until they reach what is called the delta phase. This is when we sleep most deeply. The last phase is REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. Our eyes dart back and forth beneath closed lids, and our muscles temporarily shut down to keep us from acting out our dreams. And we're most likely to remember our dreams if we wake up during this state, since it's the closest phase to being awake. During the night, you'll cycle through the stages of sleep as many as 5 times. You may even wake up between cycles, which is completely normal. The first cycle is about 100 minutes, with only 10 minutes of REM sleep. But in each cycle, you'll start to get more REM sleep so that your last cycle includes about an hour of REM.
All right. So back to the stages of sleep that the doctor just talked about. Stage 1 is non-REM sleep. Lasts about 5 to 15 minutes. It's a very light sleep. Sometimes people feel like they get the sense of falling in this stage. Then you move on to stage 2, 5 to 15 minutes, light sleep. This is where your body temperature begins to drop, your heart rate slows. It's also non-rapid eye movement sleep. Then you progress to stages 3 and 4. Slow wave delta sleep. Stage 4 is slightly deeper. Your body repairs itself in this stage. This is your beauty sleep. This is non-REM sleep as well. And then the next stage is stage 5, 10 minutes in the first cycle, and it can be up to an hour in the subsequent cycles. This is where your dreaming occurs. Brain activity similar to waking levels, and this is your rapid eye movement stage, or REM sleep. Okay. And this is, you usually wake up from this, and sometimes you can remember your dreams. Here is a chart of the sleeping stages by the hour. And you'll go through the stages of sleep. You'll cycle through those 4 or 5 times a night. And we have our drowsy days. Is your young athlete getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough sleep? So, most of the athletes watching this will probably be in the adolescent phase, 13 to 18 years old. And so it says here 8 to 10 hours recommended sleep. If you don't get 8 to 10 hours, you could suffer from sleep deprivation. You could exhibit some ADHD-like behavior. Could be difficult to wake. You might sleep an extra 2 or more hours on weekends. Or you could be falling asleep in inappropriate places. 25 to 40% of kids will have a sleep problem at some point during their childhood and on to adolescence. So it is common. So how much sleep do we need? Teens need at least 8.5 to 9.25 hours of sleep each night. So we'll round that up to 8.5 to 9.5 hours would be ideal. But teens are chronically sleep deprived. They often have poor sleep habits and irregular sleep patterns, trying to make up for sleep on weekends. If you do have an excess sleep debt and you really need to pay that back on the weekends, they say the best way without interrupting your circadian rhythm would be to do that with a nap in the afternoon because that won't change your body's circadian rhythm or its internal clock. Teens regularly experience daytime sleepiness. That is very common. And it could be due to a shift in a later sleep pattern. So teens do experience a shift to a later sleep-wake cycle. The biological clocks of children shift during adolescence, which drives them to a later bedtime schedule, usually around 11 p.m., and a natural tendency to wake later in the morning. This delayed phase syndrome can place them in conflict with their schedule, particularly early in the mornings. And this kind of shows you a normal sleep versus a delayed sleep schedule. So, for other people not teenagers, you'd be on the normal schedule, 9 to 10 at night, get up at, 6, 7 in the morning. Delayed sleep, which adolescents tend to go through, they don't get tired until like 11 or 12 at night. And so they want to sleep till 8 or 9. But because of early school times, they can't. So they are shortening their sleep time and not getting the recommended amount of sleep that is needed. And it's a vicious cycle. Go to bed late, have to wake up early. That leads to daytime sleepiness, which in turn may cause a teen to use caffeine or other substances or napping. Napping too late will cause you to go to bed later. Also, if you have a lot of catch up sleep on the weekends and it's late, you're going to go to bed later. And that means you have to get up early, it's just disrupting that sleep cycle. So, why is it hard for teens to get good sleep? There is no single reason for sleep insufficiency among teens. Several factors contribute to this problem, and these factors may vary from teenager to teenager. So, the first one we have is delayed sleep schedule and school start times. During adolescence, there's a strong tendency towards being a night owl or staying up later at night and sleeping longer into the morning. Experts believe this is a twofold biological impulse affecting the circadian rhythm and sleep wake cycle of teens. First, teens have to sleep drive that builds more slowly, which means they don't start to feel tired until later in the evening. Second, the body waits longer to start producing melatonin, which is the hormone that helps us promote sleep. If allowed to sleep on their own schedule, many teens would get 8 hours or more per night, sleeping from 11 p.m. or midnight until 8 or 9 a.m. But school start times in most school districts force teens to wake up much earlier in the morning. Because of the biological delay in their sleep wake cycle, many teens simply aren't able to fall asleep early enough to get 8 or more hours of sleep and still arrive at school on time. With reduced sleep on weekdays, teens may try to catch up by sleeping in on the weekend. But as I stated earlier, this may exacerbate their delayed sleep schedule and inconsistent nightly rest. So it doesn't really help. Then you have time pressure. Teens often have their hands full. School assignments, work obligations, household chores, social life, community activities, and sports are just some of the things that can require their time and attention. With so much to try to fit into each day, Many teens don't allocate sufficient time for sleep. They may stay up late during the week to finish homework or during the weekend when hanging out with friends, both of which can reinforce their night owl schedule. Pressure to succeed while managing these extensive commitments can be stressful, and excess stress has been known to contribute to sleeping problems and insomnia. Then we have the use of electronic devices. Electronic devices like cell phones and tablets are ubiquitous among teens, and research, such as a 2014 Sleep American poll, finds that 89% or more of teens keep at least one device in their bedroom at night. Now, if they took the toll in 2020, it would probably be way more than one device. Screen time late in the evening can contribute to sleeping problems. Using these devices can keep teens' brains wired, and incoming notifications can cause disrupted and fragmented sleep. Evidence also points to suppressed melatonin production from exposure to the light from cell phones. And now, with this virtual learning, you're on screens all the time, which is not helping either. And for most people, they like to watch TV before they go to bed at night, but that does not help with your sleep habits either. We are learning. So, what are some consequences of sleep deprivation? Well, you have cognitive, social, and behavioral performance. They become impaired. Poor school performance and lower grades. Tardiness and absence from school because you just can't get up on time. Difficulty remaining alert and paying attention. And you're at risk for injuries and drowsy driving accidents. So, insufficient sleep leads to a lot of things: distractibility, poor attention span, poor organizational skills, poor motivation, irritable, easily frustrated, depression, anxiety, and defiance. All these are affected because of the lack of sleep. So, what happens when teens don't sleep or they don't experience a normal sleep cycle? It can affect your cognitive performance. Teens who have 4 or more technological devices in their bedroom are 2 times more likely to fall asleep in school or while doing homework. There's an increased risk of obesity. Teens who lose sleep may experience long-term effects on their physical health, including a higher risk of developing diabetes later in life. Put teens at a risk for injury. Teen athletes are 1.7 times more likely to suffer an injury if they have not slept 8 hours a day. Can lead to mental health issues. Teens who sleep 6 or less hours are 3 times more likely to suffer from depression. It can create changes in mood. Younger teens who don't get enough sleep are more likely to be inattentive, impulsive, hyperactive, and oppositional. And it may make them turn to substances. Sleep deprivation increases the risk of alcohol and drug abuse, especially among teens who are prescribed sleeping pills. And also, it can lead to substance abuse with stimulants. So, is there a difference in the sleep needs of a non-athlete versus an athlete? While the basic recommendation is for teenagers to get at least 8 hours of sleep per night, getting more sleep, say 10 hours per night on a regular basis, can help those pursuing sports goals to reach their peak athletic performance. We tend to focus on diet and exercise, but what about sleep? We hear about diet and exercise all the time. Sleep is often overlooked as a factor that can affect a child's performance and recovery. Getting enough quality slumber or sleep is critical for a young athlete's energy, coordination, muscle growth, recovery and repair, mental focus, ability to manage stress, and academic performance. After all, contrary to common perception, sleep isn't a passive activity. It's an active state that leads to repair, recovery, and regeneration for a young athlete's body and mind. If a student athlete is consistently struggling with sleep, where it could be because of a more serious condition, such as insomnia, sleep apnea, or a sleep related movement disorder, he or she should see their primary care physician, who may refer a sleep specialist if needed. So, now we're going to look at the human performance model, influencers of wins and losses. There are 5 things up here around getting the athlete ready. We've talked about nutrition, mental preparation. You've heard that one before. Conditioning, got to be in good condition. Hydration, stay hydrated. You've heard all that before, but what is just as important is sleep. And we don't talk about that as much with athletes. The Gatorade Sports Science Institute did a study on basketball players. Not that other sports aren't important, but this study was done with basketball players. And what they found was decreased sleep quality and quantity, so the amount and the quality, can impair performance in basketball players. Athletes may take longer to fall asleep and have a lower sleep efficiency than non-athletes. Social demands, technology, and caffeine can interfere with total sleep time. Recent evidence suggests that enhancing sleep may also enhance performance in basketball players. Adolescents require greater than 9 hours per sleep, yet many adolescents sleep significantly less than 9 hours per night. And to create optimum sleep quality and quantity, maintain a regular sleep routine to ensure an appropriate sleep environment. And then we talk about the benefits of optimal sleep. If we start at the top right of this model, you have improved reaction times, faster sprint times. You also have extended careers can result from that. Fewer mental errors, better accuracy. You're ready to perform, and reduced injury rates. So all these things are beneficial and are good things, and this comes from optimal good sleep. The likelihood of injury based on hours of sleep per night is shown here. Athletes who sleep on average less than 8 hours per night have 1.7 times greater risk of being injured than those who sleep more than 8 hours a night. So, can sleep improve your athletic performance? Getting enough sleep is crucial for athletic performance. Study shows that a good sleep can improve speed, accuracy, and reaction time in athletes. Just as athletes need more calories than most people when they're training, they need more sleep too. If you're pushing your body in practice, you need more time to recover. When it comes to training for sports, many student athletes and their parents recognize the importance of eating well and exercising consistently, but sleep is often overlooked as a factor that can affect a child's performance and recovery. That's unfortunate because getting enough quality sleep is critical. Not getting enough sleep doesn't only make you tired the next day, it has a big impact on what's happening inside your body. Sleep is the time when your body repairs itself. If you don't get enough sleep, you don't perform well. Sometimes this lack of sleep can be from some of the things we've discussed today, and sometimes it can be from a sleep disorder. So, some common sleep disorders. Some of these could be keeping you from getting the sleep that you need. The first one is insomnia. It's a common sleep disorder that can make it hard to fall asleep, hard to stay asleep, or cause you to wake up too early and not be able to get back to sleep. You may still feel tired when you wake up. Insomnia can sap not only your energy level and mood, but also your health, your work performance, and your quality of life. It can be caused by pain, health conditions, memory loss, medication, mental health, and also lifestyle. The next common sleep disorder we are going to talk about is sleep apnea, the obstructed type. It occurs when the airway at the back of the throat becomes physically blocked. That obstruction causes temporary lapses in breath. Sleep apnea is a condition marked by abnormal breathing during sleep. People with sleep apnea have multiple extended pauses in breath when they sleep. These temporary breathing lapses cause lower quality sleep and affect the body's supply of oxygen, leading to potentially serious health consequences. Here are some pictures of what happens with obstructive sleep apnea. Normal breathing, air can get through. Snoring, the second one, partial obstruction of the airway. And then OSA, or complete obstruction of the airway. The airway is where it's blue in these pictures. So snoring is partially obstructed, and then obstructed sleep apnea, that's a complete obstruction. And that is when people stop breathing and they gasp for air. So there are some signs and symptoms of sleep apnea. Sometimes it goes undiagnosed, and there are a lot of treatments for it. But some signs and symptoms could be frequent urination, especially at night, daytime sleepiness, loud snoring, weight gain, impaired memory, moodiness, making gasping or choking sounds, night sweats, and morning headaches. And sometimes people don't realize that they have it. And they're never getting in that deep, deep stage of sleep. And so they have a hard time during the day. They're always tired. The next common disorder is restless leg syndrome. It's a condition that causes an uncontrollable urge to move your legs, usually because of an uncomfortable sensation. It typically happens in the evening or nighttime hours when you're sitting or lying down. Moving eases the unpleasant feeling temporarily. Restless leg syndrome, also known as Willis-Ekbom disease, can begin at any age and generally worsens as you age. It can disrupt sleep, which interferes with daily activities. Some of the symptoms are burning, cramping, pain, numbness, itching, tingling, aching, and crawling. And there's a lot of great information online that you can find about restless leg syndrome and treatments and remedies. Another common disorder is narcolepsy. It's a chronic sleep disorder characterized by overwhelming daytime drowsiness and sudden attacks of sleep. People with narcolepsy often find it difficult to stay awake for long periods of time, regardless of the circumstances. Narcolepsy can cause serious disruptions in your daily routine. It is a chronic condition for which there's no cure. However, medications and lifestyle changes can help you manage the symptoms. Support from others, family, friends, employers, teachers can help you cope with narcolepsy. Here are some symptoms: excessive daytime sleepiness, sleep paralysis. It's like when you wake up and you can't move for a few seconds. Disrupted nighttime sleep, sometimes hallucinations, or cataplexy. Only 25% of Americans with narcolepsy have diagnosis and treatment, but there is treatment out there. So some tips for staying awake: take several short scheduled naps during the day. Stay active, take walks, use a standing desk, eat smaller meals, sit near a window for sunlight and fresh air. And this is tips for staying awake if you have narcolepsy. All right, so sleep in teens. A good night's sleep has a great effect on your teen's health. You know that 28% of teens fall asleep at school once a week or more. 14% of teens arrive late for school at least once a week or more. 9 hours, 10 if possible, we would like you to get, especially if you're an athlete. Tips for better sleep. Why is sleep important? Sleep can lead to better grades, good moods, and keeps you physically fit. Some other common sleep disorders in teens, and we've talked about these: sleep deprivation. That has to do with your early waking time and everything that you are involved with. Inadequate sleep hygiene, and sleep hygiene has to deal with your sleep habits. And then circadian rhythm disorder, and that's when there's a continuous disruption of sleep pattern caused by changes in a teen's biological clock. And this is what we were talking about earlier, when you have a shift in your sleep pattern. So remember that you're a teenager, and it seems as if there is never enough hours in the day to get everything done. But also remember that you're an athlete, and your body has different needs than that of a non-athlete. Sleep is one of the most important aspects of you bringing your A game every single day. If you feel like you may have a sleep disorder or something other than just being a busy teenager, talk to your family or your doctor. There are resources out there that can help you. And in order for you to get the best sleep that you can, remember, routine is key. Sleep habits are key. Sleep hygiene is key. Here are some helpful tips to keep you well rested and ready to compete. So try to make sure you have a quiet environment. Maintain a decent room temperature. This says 18 degrees Celsius. That's about 64 or 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Ensure that the bedding or clothing does not cause an environment that is too hot. Your sleep routine: consistent time each night for falling asleep to begin and waking up. Avoid caffeine in food or fluid ingestion leading up to sleep. Avoid the use of a computer, tablet, or TV before sleeping. Napping not later than mid-afternoon, because if you nap too late, then you're going to stay up later. And at least, we're going to say 9 hours of sleep at night, even though this screen says 7. And ensure a dark room with no light source present. That will help you sleep better. I hope you have enjoyed this discussion on the importance of sleep in athletes, and you realize how very important quality sleep is. Thank you for watching this session. Please fill out the survey link found on the Bon Secours virtual training page. This will help us improve our videos and present topics that you might be interested in. Thanks again, and have a great day.